Hey all, welcome to the Inner World Queendom Kingdom Transformation Program. My name is Jade Binioni, and I'm going to be running you through a little bit of an overview before you get stuck into watching the lessons, watching the modules, and going through the pre-learning. Look, first and foremostly, I just want to honor you for being here. It's so awesome that you've said yes to your growth and said yes to your success. To the growth of your business, to the growth of yourself through doing this work. And I'm going to explain a little bit why and how this work, the internal work, is going to shape the results, the experiences that you have in your external world, the things you do, the people that you do the things with. Look, in my experience, when I first started my business, one was looking for guidance. Two, once I got that guidance, there was a series of things I had to do, and I constantly was running into brick walls. And, do a Facebook Live, go to do it, and just be like shaking in my boots. And when I unpacked that, what I found was a series of patterns that these weren't just brick walls, these were patterns that were occurring, and instead of being brick walls, they were my beliefs. They were what I thought about myself and how worthy I was to be creating this success, to do the action that would lead towards the success or the growth that I was questioning for myself. And so it became very apparent that what I was able to achieve and experience in my business and in my external world was a direct result of the work that I was doing with my coach to unearth my worth. And if you didn't know, the name of my company is Unearth Your Worth. And it's that for a reason, because I truly believe that what we work on within ourselves creates the results and the experiences that we have in our world. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into an overview of what we're going to be covering in this program and why it's so important. So logistically, there are a series of videos, and they've all been broken up for you, okay? And each series or each module covers why we're looking at the certain subject. For example, the first module that you're going to watch is roles, right? Understanding who you are at a core level. So there's a piece around why we're even doing that work. Why are we looking at roles, the roles that we play? And then the next piece is what we're going to look at. So an in-depth understanding, giving you an in-depth understanding of what we're going to be doing. And then the last and final step, as it should be with anything that you learn, is now how you go away and execute that, how you go away and, change these things. So, or work on these things. So that's the logistics, and that's how you're going to move through the program. Now, what is an inner world? What is that? And it's a really great question. Now, I believe that there's three worlds, to give you perspective. And for this, I'm going to switch over to my iPad just to give you a bit of a visual on what we're going to be covering. So bear with me for a moment. Here we go. Should be switching over now. And I'm going to explain to you that from my experience, I believe that there are three worlds that are at play, okay, and that we want to learn to honor. So the first one is, this is us, okay, the first world that is orbiting our soul system, which is us, okay, is our inner world. What makes us us? Yeah. Everything that's contained in it is to do with us. It's our thinking. It's our identity. It's relative to us. Now, the second world is our outer world. So based on our thinking, based on our beliefs and who we think we are. It's the external world, circumstances and experiences that we are living with or that we are experiencing. That's the second world. Now, the third world encompasses all. Okay, so this is our higher world. Okay, and this is, if you understand these concepts, all to do with the universe, the laws of the universe, everything being connected as one and bringing this together. Now, traditionally, what we do once we've been moving through life for a few years and we've just been we've become human doings, right, is that we tend to do life a little bit like this. We're here and our eyes or our focus is on our outer world. And we tend to ask questions like, how do I get more of, or how do I experience less of if it doesn't feel so good? How do I get more, or how do I get less? And how? We're concerned with the hows, and we try to focus more and more energy, right? More and more energy on this outer world to shape what we're experiencing and what we're living. Now, our inner world doesn't get much attention, right, to begin with, before we understand this kind of knowledge. Our inner world, we don't focus too much there. There's the occasional question, right? There's the occasional curiosity about why we feel a certain way, but there's not much of a focus on our inner world, okay? Because our eyes are too focused on the outer. Now, the higher world, right, which connects all of this, there's just, I would say, a lot of people don't know about this world and are not living in alignment with everything as a whole. Purely the focus is on the outer world, okay? And so what I have learned through my experience is that rather than spending a whole bunch of time and energy on the how do we get more and how do we experience less of the bad stuff and more of the good stuff, is that with our three worlds, okay, so let's just draw it out here. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. With our inner world, let's put this here, inner world, higher world, and outer world. In my experience and in my opinion, I recommend that we focus equally, our energy equally, on balancing all three of these worlds. And how we're going to remain focused is by focusing on how do I feel. When we think of our higher world and our relationship and connection to all that is and all that connects us, how do I feel about that? Just checking in and bringing that presence. Presence to the current moment, presence to how we're feeling in the current moment, or how we're feeling about, the past or the future, and then also just how we're feeling in general as a human being given the shot at life and just being here. How are we feeling about that? The other place to focus is, how do I feel within my inner world in relation to my past, my present, my beliefs, my upbringing, my conditioning, what I know about myself? How do I feel about that? Constantly checking in with the emotions that are coming up, because one of the questions I constantly asked myself in my head was, what are the purpose of emotions? And I'm going to take you through that in a moment. But what are the purpose of emotions? Why do they always change? Why sometimes I feel good and then other times I feel bad? So look, the how do I feel part is tapping into the emotion, okay, and is being able and training ourselves to experience more emotion. And then the third one is, how do we feel about everything in our external world? How do I feel about my job? What am I feeling in this moment when I'm working on this piece of content in my business? What am I feeling like when I'm in these interactions or conversations? Tapping into how we feel. Now, why is how we feeling? Why is the how we're feeling part so essential? Well, it's for two reasons. Feelings or emotions, right? Number one, they are our guidance system. Okay, our emotions are a guidance system or a GPS, and letting us know how we're doing in relation to bringing all three of these worlds together. Like in our inner world, how are we doing? And our emotions are direct feedback. So in our inner world, if we're feeling a negative emotion, it's potentially because we're doing the focusing on the external world and looking at, what we want more of because we don't have it, or we're wanting less of because we've got too much of it and we don't want it. It's because our focus is a bit warped. So what I've created here is this concept of focusing on all three worlds and divvying up your energy equally to ask that question in any moment. Because at any moment you're feeling more connected and you want to tap into how that is. Or maybe you feel less connected and then it's like, okay, well, how do I feel in relation to being human and being here? In our inner world, it's like, how do I feel about this belief that's either holding me back or really propelling me forward? How am I feeling with that? And in our outer world, how do I feel about everything that I'm experiencing that I have? And then listening to the emotion. And our emotions are the GPS. They tell us, are you on track to experiencing everything you want in your outer world, or are you way off, right? That's the job of them, right? Now, when people are focusing on the how can I get more or less of by focusing on the outer world and trying to control those circumstances, what that's doing is it's putting more focus on what you don't have or what you have too much of that you don't want. And what the intention is we're intending to create more of what we want, but because we're focusing on what we don't want or what we want more of because we're missing out on it currently, is we're thinking and we're being from a place of fear and a place of lack and a place of, not abundant. And so therefore, I say it's a fool's game to look at our external world and try and just think our circumstances to be better. What we want to do is we want to listen to our emotions and see how we're doing, where are we off. I trust that makes sense. The second reason is because our emotions, now this is deep, but our emotions and how well we can experience our emotions and all the emotions. There's something like 120 emotions and different flavors of them that we can experience. If you're familiar with Esther Hicks, there's an emotional guidance scale, and essentially there's 22, I believe, emotions, and there's the scale of emotions that we fluctuate in. And the state or the ultimate state is to be in a state of joy and love. Now, to how well we can experience our emotions, it determines how worthy, how enough, and how lovable we feel about ourselves. Trust that makes sense. Because when we hold back an emotion and we suppress that, what we're doing is we're not allowing it, and so it becomes trapped in the body. And we suppress out of fear of if we do experience that emotion, what will happen? And so we're holding part of us back. Now, when we can experience the fullness of emotions, then this creates our sense of worthiness, enough, and lovableness. Okay. And what this is called is it's our self-esteem, or it's our self-confidence to be ourselves. This is what it creates. So experience emotions is so important to grow our inner deep self-confidence. It's a deep self-confidence. So that's a compelling reason why we want to learn how to express and experience any emotion and all emotions. There are no good or bad ones. Now, this is why I've decided that in my world and what I teach other people, that we have so much energy and so many hours in the day. How do we want to spend that? Do we want to spend all of that time and energy focusing on what's out of our control, which is the outer world, and just being like, please change, please change, please change, please become more, please become less, which we have, that is not the way it's created? Or do we want to just equally divide our energy and time on focusing on balancing all three worlds? And the way we do that is going, how do I feel in this, in this experience, in this state, in this world? How do I feel? And checking in. Oh yeah, feel pretty good. Oh, this is a bit of a shocking emotion. Okay, let's just sit with it, let it pass, experience it. When we do that, we begin to back ourselves and create a lot of trust within ourselves, because we're filling our time and energy with experiencing life and emotion. And when we have a fuller, deep sense of confidence and we can trust ourselves and back ourselves, and there's less stuff that we're doing out of fear, the more we experience in life, the wider and the fuller our reality becomes. And so the promise of this program is beginning to look into three things: your identity, and I'll give it to you like this. My drawing skills. Your identity, which are like the roots of a tree. Okay, and you would have seen this when you first signed up for the program, that our roots are like our identity. They run deep and we can't always see them, but yet they absolutely are imperative, and they're what make a tree live. And so it's just like us. These are the roots to us. And this is deep rooted. It runs back past the life that we've lived. It's been handed down. It's energetically, running through generations and generations. It's who we believe we are. Okay? It's the I am and anything that follows it. This is our identity. And this is a core piece of what we're going to be looking at inside of the Inner Transformation Program, because your kingdom is yours. It's your world. And inside of that kingdom is the first thing that we want to look at is who you think you are, your identity. And a big part of this is we want to look firstly at, hold on, before we go any further, is your identity based on love or is it based on fear? And what tends to happen when it's based on fear is that when we've been, protecting ourselves and, surviving and fitting in with, the family units and the tribes that we've been born into, we've spent a lot of time in these spaces. We can sort of lose ourself, right? Our true core self. And so we want to look at, is there a part of you that's actually, running your identity at the moment based on everything that you've experienced? Is there, is this your true self that's driving your bus, or is there a version of you that's been created to, to suit the circumstances in which you've grown up in and you've been immersed in? So that's the first thing that we look at, because any work further up on the tree would just be like, cutting back the branches and expecting them not to grow back again. It's like, it's not sustainable. So we first look at your identity and who's driving your bus. Is it your true self, or is it a version of a false self that has been put in place to protect you? Okay, so that's the first thing we look at, and that's where we explore roles. And the roles are like what you have, the version of you that's been driving the bus, the version of the costume that you've been wearing to protect you for all of these years. And it's very smart that you have been doing that. And the questions we ask are like, is it okay now to, to take off our costume now? That's the question, and that's what we explore. Now, the second part of that creates us, or that how we're made up, is our is like our trunk. Okay, it's how we stand and how we, what carries us. And a big part of what carries us are our values, and they're as strong as a trunk on a tree. Okay, they're very, very closely connected to our roots, which is our identity. And this is everything that we value or deem to be important in our lives. This is what determines what we will, be motivated to do. And so if we have a value set that is not in alignment with the goals and the path that you see for yourself, then we want to explore those, understand firstly why they've been in place. They're there for a reason. And very similar to the parts of our identity that have been there for a reason, they've been there probably to protect, okay? But it becomes a question of, is it now okay? And is the coast clear enough now that we're adults and now that we're here, taking care of our own lives? Is it okay if we change things around? And that's what we do. Understand your current value set, and we, if needed, we create some values that are more in alignment with where you're wanting to go. Now, after we've looked at values, and only then, we must go in this order, will we look at beliefs. Okay, so as a result, the identity is starting to shift. There's been a change in values, and then we have a look at the beliefs that have been potentially created. And then we create some new beliefs to support, that are in alignment with your new identity and values, and that support the goal, the overarching reason why we're growing, okay? That's what we look at next, because our beliefs are like the branches to a tree. They are the first things to grow, and from there determines our attitude, right, which are like the leaves, okay? So our attitude comes next towards a certain task or path, and our attitude determines what we will or won't do. If we're not feeling it, we're not going to do it. If we're feeling it, if we've got a great attitude towards it, then we're going to go for it. So our attitude determines what we're going to take care of and what we're going to leave, because we're not, we might not be feeling it. And that is shaped by our beliefs, which our beliefs are shaped by our values, and our values are determined by our identity. And ultimately, what all of this creates are the results that we see in our external world, which are, guys, the fruits. These are like the fruits that hang from the tree. Think about it. If a tree isn't properly nourished and watered, and it doesn't see enough rain, right, it doesn't grow. It doesn't grow to its full potential. And so if a tree or a plant or anything living is nourished and taken care of and well watered, then it grows and it's healthy and it bears fruits. And those fruits go on to, sustain life, other forms of life, like we eat fruit from a tree, okay? And this is the same for our journey. Once we have all of these things in alignment, when our tree of life is in alignment, then we're acting on things that really matter to us, and we are bearing results in our external world, in our outer world. We're experiencing things that we are truly wanting to experience. And when we are living the life experience that we really wanted to, then that becomes inspiration, like fruits for other people to watch, to witness, and to be inspired to go on their own journey of growth. And so this is why this work truly is important, because not only do you get to experience a full life, like the fullest version of yourself that you could, and I mean, there's a lot that we're going to do in the next 2 to 3 months. However, this is just the beginning. This is like setting the foundation. This is planting the first tree and letting it bloom. Then after that, you'll have a solid foundation, and all you need to do from there is maintain. But a lot of the times when people don't do this type of work, then it's like every challenge or every new tasks that they go to embrace. It's like having to figure out all of this stuff, identity, values, beliefs, attitude, and find where it's not working, like starting from scratch every single time. And so for you, once you've completed this work, you'll have a solid grounding of who you are. You know what you value. It's in alignment with your bigger purpose. Your beliefs are in alignment with that purpose. Your attitude is coming across as in support of the goal, and you're set up to achieve the results that you want to achieve, and to go on and to contribute and inspire others to do so as well. So that is the framework for this work. This is what the journey is together. And I'm really looking forward to jumping in to the next modules and helping you along through the integrations, right, that you're creating. So guys, I will let you get on into the first module. Thank you again for being here, and I'll see you soon. Bye.